Let's rock and roll. And we always start everything at Center for Spiritual Living with a spiritual mind treatment, so I invite you to take a breath and let it go. And do it again. And as we let it go, we let go of anything that's a distraction. We bring ourselves fully and completely into this present moment, knowing that there's only one thing going on in the universe. It's the presence of Spirit. It's God. It's life. It's light. It's love. It's the creative force. It is the thinking stuff. And I know that out of itself, that thinking stuff creates into form. And we are the result. And so we allow ourselves to open to the experience of being that creative substance in form as of us now. We open up to that idea that we are creating in our worlds. And so we create really good. We create greatness. We create richness. We create happiness and clarity and joy and health. And we allow our lives to be a perfect reflection of that divine thought that we consciously think into form. And so I know that we get whatever is ours to get this night, and we are better off for it. And with great gratitude for the great thinkers of the world, Wallace, Wattles, and Ernest Holmes, and all of the others, I simply release this treatment into all that God is, because I know that God is all. And so it is.
And so it is.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Is there anyone who was not here last week? Welcome. Lisa. Yes, Lisa. You know, you look like Elise. And I was going, Elisa. You two look alike, don't you? You see that? So welcome. The book is on the back table, The Science of Getting Rich, The Science of Being Great, or it's on our website. Are you familiar with our website? Yes. So you can download it in a PDF. You can listen to me in my very first recording of The Science of Getting Rich. And we're pretty much almost through with the book. So the next one is The Science of Being Great. Those of you who were here last week, we focused a lot on gratitude. So we had gratitude stones, we had gratitude papers. And I'm wondering how you did in your homework last week, which was every time you felt your gratitude stone, were you able to move into gratitude?
Yes.
Yes. Where did you keep your gratitude stone?
In my bra.
In your pocket, in your pocket.
In the bra.
In your bra. So every time you were feeling it. How about your gratitude sheets?
Nobody's talking.
Lynn.
I did them, kept them, and then what I did was I went back the next day, and then I marked off all the things that happened. So I was really tracking like a lot of like bam, 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 did some manifestations.
Great, you were using them as a manifestation tool. Wonderful, wonderful, and they worked very well. To be able to be grateful for that which has not yet shown up simply brings it into your experience faster. And what else? What happened with gratitude sheets? I love gratitude sheets. Nothing.
I'm still keeping mine from the Summer of Prosperity.
From Maybe Carmen's gratitude sheets. What kinds of things were you grateful for?
I was grateful for a roof over my head.
A roof over my head.
It was raining.
It was raining. That was Friday. Yes.
Transportation.
I did that too.
Transportation? Wonderful. What other things were you grateful for, Quan?
Healing.
Healing. Wonderful.
Pets.
Pets. Judith.
Education.
Education. Wonderful. Were any of you grateful for people in your life?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Did you notice that it had an impact on how you related to those people or how they related back to you?
Yes.
Yes.
The fastest way to transform a relationship, either to being closer or being farther apart, is with the use of gratitude or with the use of criticism. And if you want to get rid of someone in your life, all you have to do is start criticizing them. And the universe will find a way for them not to be there anymore. The problem with using criticism to get rid of someone is that then you're left with that energy of criticism, and the next person that comes in your life will embody that energy. The thing that is important to remember about that is if you think you can criticize someone and keep them, you're wrong. It will not happen. And not only will you not keep them, but what you are left with is a vat of criticism. And so that needs to be cleaned up too. But the best way to transform a relationship of any kind is to be grateful for them. And a really healthy technique with all of that is to just go ahead and tell them. Just tell them. You can write down your gratitude, but then go that extra mile and tell them that you're grateful for them. April.
Since this summer with the prosperity class, every morning I go and sit in my husband's lap and tell him how grateful I am.
Oh,
And it has changed our whole relationship.
of course it has. And you do it in his lap. How sweet. Have I ever met him?
Yes, once.
I don't remember what it looks like. That's great. That's great. This is good stuff. This will save you thousands and thousands of dollars in therapy and divorce lawyers. Drew.
I went a little further, and I always do the being grateful when my feet hit the floor. And I don't write very well, but I was even grateful for my enemies, and grateful, and I went to look in them for things that I liked.
Good. We talked about that. Find the best in them.
But I had a problem with the gratitude stone, because in my head, like through the week, it turned into gratuity stone, so I felt like half the week I felt like tipping people.
You know, you can't keep enemies if you're grateful for them. If you carry that love, then they have to change. I love the quote from Martin Luther King where he says that he chose to carry love because hate brought too great a burden. It was just too much of a burden to be in hate. So the only other choice is love. And even if you have to love someone that, for all intents and purposes, has done you wrong, then you're better off loving them than carrying the additional burden of hate, and you'll carry that for the rest of your life. And it's just not worth it. What is it, Edwene says, and she's quoting somebody else, but I forget who, that not forgiving someone is like drinking poison and expecting them to die. Yeah. Judith.
I added to my gratitude stone. I put 2 more in my pocket. And I have this one that someone gave me. I don't know who it was that gave it to me. It says believe. And one thing I noticed since I did this is my niece and I are having a better relationship. We're able to talk for the first time in like 29 years, and she's 29 years old.
That's Jessie, the one who's moving here, the hairdresser.
And we've always had a very contentious relationship, but she was over to dinner the other night, and we're having a good time, and
Has she moved here yet?
Yeah, she's here.
Oh, good.
She's here.
Good.
She's been here for a month. But that's what works for me. It's helping.
She may still have an awful relationship with you, but
Yeah.
your half of it is great.
Well,
And
she's
what do
being
you-
nice to me.
I understand. I understand. If you start putting love out,
Yeah.
the only thing that can come back is love. So if you're having a bad relationship with someone, they may be having a fantastic relationship with you. Think about it. People at the office, you go, oh, I can't believe what they did. And somebody goes, what? They're a wonderful person. They're always helpful for me and nice and joyous. And we're going, oh, they're just awful. Well, that's us. And so one of the things that I like about Wallace Wattles is he spells it out really clearly. You know, if you want something in your life, you've got to do certain things. There's a science to getting rich. There's a science to being great. And so if you're going to have love and joy in your relationship, then you've got to have it for you. And who cares what they're having? If you're having a wonderful experience, it's like having a child that just happens to be mad at you at the moment. You know, let's go with a tween. You're the worst parent ever. And you're going, oh, isn't that wonderful? It's a developmental stage. I just love it so much. It's so huge. You're having a wonderful relationship, and they're having an awful relationship. But you don't have to buy into their awful relationship. You can stay really clear. What you're supposed to do, Eric and, I can't hear you. Luis, Eric and Luis, you're supposed to be telling each other how much you are grateful for each other and appreciate each other. Tell you out loud every day at least once. And what that does is that opens up the door to have a really good relationship. And if the person is not acting the way you think they should act, well, they didn't even stop what they were doing to turn around and look at me. My God, I climbed up in his lap and he kept watching the news. How terrible. No, you had a wonderful experience. And let them have whatever experience they want to have, because if you don't, then you are, it's called meddling, not minding your own business. It's a basic codependent enabling problem of a boundary issue. Let the world be whatever it wants to be. Remember, the world is perfect though not complete. So do your part for your world, because you are impressing thought upon thinking substance, thinking stuff, and creating what you want. So forget about, I'm going to do this and you're going to do that. That's a low-level relationship, that tit-for-tat kind of thing. And just blow the world out with all of your unconditional love everywhere, at every moment, for any reason. And what you'll find is that you are being lifted up in a creative plane of manifesting riches and greatness, and giving everybody around you the opportunity to come with you. However, there are those who don't want to play. And there are those people who don't want to come, and that's their business. If you try to get involved in it, then you'll go right down the tubes. And if you can say, I'm going to be who I've come here to be, and I'm going to let everybody else be the way they are, and I'm not going to get involved in the politics of it, in the economics of it, in the gossip of it, in the judgment of it. I'm not going to get involved in the story of it. I'm going to stay true to where I want to go. Then you're going to find yourself just taking off in life. I had two things I wanted to ask about. One is will you share, coming back to class, and give people just a little bit of history so they'll know how long you've been in this teaching. You want to sit there?
No, we'll stand.
Huh? Come over here, get in the camera. Over here. Over here. There you go.
Let's do it.
Put it close to your mouth.
Okay. It was in the 70s, and I lived in Denver when I started going to Science of Mind. I took Science Mind 1, 2, and 3. And at that point, I got a little bit of money. I mean, a little bit, like $35,000. Sold everything I had, took my daughter, and we went around the world for a year.
Oh, wow.
I mean, and I used these principles the whole time. I spent 3 months in Pakistan and met wonderful people everywhere I went. Here.
This way.
Okay. Everywhere I went, it was wonderful people. I mean, I've had people say, you were in Pakistan? I said, yes, I stayed in homes. I met wonderful people. We talked about religion. And I remember this one man, we sat in his room, in his living room, and his wife kept trying to get me to come in the kitchen and cook, because we were all in cooking. And we talked religion. And time we got done, we realized that we believed exactly the same thing. Once you took the practices around it off, that we were one. I mean, that was a highlight of my experiences, to have that happen in Islamabad, Pakistan. And we went around the world, and we started using up our money, and we still managed to go places and do things. We went to China because it costs less to go to China for a month to stay in Hong Kong. So everything would show up in our lives using these principles. We got to Hawaii and we were broke, so we got jobs, and after a month we said, are you having any fun? Neither one of us were. He says, let's go home. Because we had a ticket to go home at the end of the year. And then I moved out here, and I wanted a center so bad. That's when I met Barbara and John. And Barbara says, no way in hell am I gonna start another church. And I went home and started, you sure did. And I went home and started practicing, doing treatments, knowing that the church that I wanted was now here. And one day they called me and said, would you like to come and start planning a church? So I was there on the first day. This has been most of my life. My kids moved here. People said, how did they move here? I said, well, they all said they weren't coming. But I treated, and what I treated, if it was for their highest and best, they would choose to move here. And 3 out of my 4 children moved here. And say this is the best place they've ever lived. They've all come to the center one time or another, taken some classes, and they still use it. My one daughter goes to work, and she works at Renaissance, and she does room services. And she'll say, gee, I need $120. Okay, tonight I will have $120 in tips in my hands. And she'll call, and I'll say, well, how much did you get? She said, I got 130. But there was only 4 people that I waited on.
Oh, wow.
And she uses it every day of her life, you know, things show up, because we came here and took Barbara's classes, and you guys don't know how much you're going to get from this. I came for the first time in quite a while last Monday, and I had a whole bunch of awarenesses show up. I wasn't using it like I should. I was worried about money. I was worried. I have a bed that I really don't like. I wake up in the morning with a backache. And on the way home, I says, oh, I forgot. All I have to know is that it's already here. And I went home and I says, we're going to get a new bed. I'm not suffering anymore because I know we have the money for it. We went out and looked at a few, and we're still looking, but we're going to find our perfect bed because I showed up in this class and reminded myself and through Barbara that this is the way to go.
Yeah.
You didn't get a name, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Clella Ann Zavada.
Clella?
Clella Ann. Yeah.
She was on one of the slides yesterday of the very first day. So when you develop yourself, chances are the people around you are going to rise up with you. You know, Gabby is so lucky that you are her mother and that she has learned these principles all along the way. And you had your family actually move here and grow and thrive. But equally, if you forget, then you forget. You just forget. I've had so many people come back and say, I forgot. I know these principles. I've used them for decades and I forgot. So it's important to be mindful of how you are impressing upon formless stuff. It's formless. Doesn't care whether you get a beautiful bed or a terrible bed, whether you wake up feeling great or you wake up with a backache. It doesn't care, but you are the one impressing it. So one of the things that I do is I look around in my life and say, what's going on in my life? And if it's like, this is great, not so much. Okay, what is happening over here with not so much that I have forgotten? Because everybody in this room already knows enough to have a fantastic life. Already knows enough. Your thought creates your reality. If you discipline yourself to focus on that which you want to experience, you cannot help but manifest that which you are focusing upon. If you are manifesting something that you don't want to keep, you have to stop focusing on it. And I love that, because if you gossip about things, if you criticize about things, if you complain about them, you are creating them every much as if, is it Rebecca?
Yeah.
As if Rebecca's going, all right, I know I got $130 in tips tonight in my, $120 in tips tonight in my hand, and then boom, she's got that. Either that or someone else can go to work and go, oh, people are so cheap. This is just a bad time, you know, we don't have the leaves, we don't have the spring, we don't have the tourists coming in, I'm not going to make anything tonight. And then they don't make anything tonight. It's totally up to us what we are impressing upon formless stuff. So I love this teaching because it reminds us in clear and simple ways, do this, Don't do that. I like that level of teaching. It reminds us in such simple ways how to make life work for us. Eva.
And Luann forgot to say that she manifested Sydney.
Oh, yeah, she did too. I remember that, Sydney.
I knew somebody was going to bring it.
You are a divine idea in the mind of God whose time has come.
Something else I found about relating to what you just said. I worked at a Renaissance Shoot for a while. I was a doorman, and I'd go in, and I said, how'd the night go to one of the guys? And he said, oh man, I didn't get it, da-da-da-da-da. And he always complained, and he always made that he
Right,
could,
right.
But I went in not expecting a lot and feel blessed for whatever I made, and I'd walk out with $150 in my pocket.
Right?
You know,
Right.
and it was amazing. So you know, it's absolutely right. That's why I'm here. That's why I've been here for a long time, because that's where I've been all my life. And then when I moved here, I found out there were like-minded folks. So I'm very comfortable now.
Yes.
Then my wife's what is it? Practitioner. I got a practitioner at home.
So Ernest Holmes calls it a mental atmosphere. I liken it to Pigpen. That's you. People could say, oh, it's your aura. Well, is your aura poor or is your aura rich? Is your aura happy or is your aura sad? Is your aura growing and expanding or is it shrinking and condensing? You can tell that because that is what shows up on the outside. And so I love the ideas of Wallace Wattles where he says, you've got to overfill your place. That was the other thing. You've got to overfill your place because when you do that, your life grows. You want to share that, Susie? Come on, come on, come on. If you tell me a story before class, you'll be sharing.
Hi, I'm Susie. So the very first class, Barbara said, overfill your place. And that's just been in my consciousness for the last couple of weeks. So a few days ago, I was sitting in the Lowe's parking lot and in my car, and this young couple approached me. And they were nicely dressed, but I rolled down the window and they said, could you give us $1? Our food stamps just ran out and we don't have enough for the rest of the month. So I'm thinking, what comes to my mind right away was overfill your place. So I take out my wallet and I have a $1 bill and I have a $20 bill.
Oh.
And I take out the $1 bill and I can already see they're like, oh, thank you, you know, to themselves, to each other. But I'm thinking there's a 20 in there, so I put the $1 bill back and I take the 20 out and I hand it to them, and just the look on their face was just such gratitude, because they just thought it was a $1 bill at first, and then they looked at it and they're like, oh, thank you. And just, you know, it wasn't my gift to them, it was their gift to me, because the joy that I felt. And I forgot to tell you this, but on the way over here tonight, I checked my mailbox, my P.O. box, and I had a $200 check in there, unexpected. And it just hit me. And I was sitting there, oh my God, it's multiplied by 10.
Wonderful, wonderful. So the thing about that is when you create opportunities for yourself to check yourself out, which is what that was, when you look at something and go, oh, first of all, get away from me, you lazy bum, you're just going to use this on crack. That's one response, and that is that shows you where you are inside of yourself. The other one is, yeah, I'll give you $1. Just do whatever you want to with it. I got $1, I'll give it to you. Go away, leave me alone. That's another one. But when you say, I'm going to put the $1 back because I'm going to challenge my own belief system about having enough, and I'm going to pull out the 20 and give it because I have more than enough. I'm the one who's not running out of food. I'm not on food stamps. I'm not going around asking strangers for money. I'm solid in who I am and how my life works. I have more than enough. then you give that, and what that does is takes you from the competitive to the creative plane. Remember that? Instead of, if I give you this dollar, then I won't have that dollar. That's a competitive plane. Or if I give you this 20, then I'm not going to have anything but a dollar. That comes from the competitive plane where there's not enough, where it's always fear-based, and takes you into the creative plane where you're saying, there's always more than enough. I live in an abundant universe where there is more than enough for all. We chant that every day. And so when we go in there, then that creates. It shows up, whether it showed up in a $200 check in your mailbox, whether it showed up in the endorphins and enkephalins that have flooded your body with a sense of well-being. And what we're learning from that is that when you're in that state, cancer cells get eradicated, organs get rebuilt, the body completely changes and heals. So who knows what kind of a healing you had sitting out there at Lowe's. Whatever it is, you got your $20 worth. Because you looked at your fear, the fears of, all right, I'll give you $1 because I'm a good person, but I'm only going to give you $1. And you move beyond your fear to say, hey, I'll just give you the 20. It's okay.
Very few people would have done that, Barbara, too. That's right. That's right.
Yes.
People would have done it, would have felt that gratitude enough to do that.
Right, right, because they need to come here
I
and
don't know
learn
if
how
I
to
would,
make
right,
that
I
work.
wouldn't know if I would have done it, you know. And I'm a good outgoing person, you know, but that's really a great thing to do.
What Wallace talks about, he says it's not what you do, it's how you do it. Have you gotten to that part? It's not what you do, it's how you do it. And what he wants you to do is to do everything in a successful way. He says don't worry about doing everything. Just whatever you do, do it in a successful way. If you can't do something in a successful way, don't do it. Kind of like, sounds like Henry Ford saying, you want to learn how to run, do the stock market? Buy low, sell high. And if you can't buy low, don't buy. And if you can't sell high, don't sell. So it's how you do things, do it in a successful way. So you had one moment in time to do something really great. You allowed yourself to be great. And because of that, you got rich. They are inextricably linked. So what Wallace Wattles is saying, don't do today what you cannot do. You know, usually it's, don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today. You know, you just go out and burn the midnight oil and take care of everything on your to-do list and run yourself ragged because there's some kind of critical parent and you saying you should get that done. You say, no, 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 no. For that matter, if you do life that way, you will do more harm to yourself than good. Because you'll be doing a lot of things not in a great way, not in a successful way, and you will make yourself small instead of great. I'm weaving the two books right now. He says, only do today what you can successfully do today. What you can do today and do it well. He said, if you can't do it well, don't do it. Because you will create more harm in your life by doing something not in a great way, not in a successful way, in a failure way, than you would by not doing it at all. I thought, that is pure genius. Because how many times have I pushed myself to handle something just so I could get it out of the way, cross it off the list, tell my internal critic that it was done, and I didn't do it in a good way. I hurried through it, I did it poorly, and I didn't give my best to it. So what I gave out into the world was less than my best. And sometimes I gave my worst to it. So he's saying, don't do that. If you pick one thing to do every day and do it successfully, you will have a successful life. Don't do anything today that you're going to fail at. Wow. Don't have that conversation if you're not ready. Don't take that action if you're not sure. Don't open up the whole can of worms if you don't have time to put them all back together again. There are times that I've tried to do big projects and do it a little bit at a time and a little bit at a time and a little bit at a time, and it never worked. It was a, God, again with the language, it was a half-hearted attempt that did not have a successful result. So he says you want to go from the competitive plane, which is based in fear and that there's not enough and you got to get yours and there's a lack of time and a lack of opportunity, into the creative plane, which says I have everything that I need and I'm going to pick this one thing and do it really well. And then don't worry about the results. Overfill your place. Do whatever it is you're doing in a creative way, in a way that sees that there is more than enough for all, that lifts people up with you, and don't worry about the rest. And I thought, boy, how many things have I had on my to-do list over the years that didn't mean anything? It just didn't mean anything. You know, do the laundry, change the sheets, cut the grass, who cares? If I waste my time doing those things instead of doing one thing well, then I've wasted my day. It's like Rumi has a story about if you are given one thing to do and you do 1,000 other things instead of that one thing, you have failed at your life. So if you have one thing to do this day, and that is to be great, to overfill your space. And it may be a surprise, like sitting out at Lowe's. You just thought you were, you know, pulling out of the parking lot, and all of a sudden there was a whole scenario about where your life wants to go appearing for you. Even if it's a surprise, take the time to think it through, decide whether or not you want to do it. If you would have said, this is just really upsetting me, I'm angry, I feel like I'm being held hostage and taken advantage of, and I'm not going to do this. If you had taken the money out and said, here, just take it and leave me alone, you would have been better off not doing anything. You would have been better off going, wow, I certainly have a lot to work at. No, not today. I'm working on my own head today. Thank you, though. If you can't do it in a successful way, where you feel good about it, where you've overfilled your place, then it's better that you don't do anything. It's like Khalil Gibran saying, if you cannot work with love in your heart, then it's better that you sit outside of the gates of the temple and beg alms from those who do, because those who bake a bread of indifference bake a bitter bread. And I've told people, if you can't be in the kitchen joyful, please get out, you're poisoning all of our food and coffee and tea and all of that. Get out of the kitchen. If you're going to be bitter in here, you are spreading poison. So think about that with your life. What are you going to do? I'm going to get up in the morning and my feet are going to hit the ground. I'm going to move into gratitude. That is a successful way to get out of bed. Some people just get out of bed and they start grumbling. That's an unsuccessful way. They would be better off staying in bed until they can get out of bed in a successful way, in a way that lifts everybody else up around them. So, and I'm sure there's a lot of partners that would be very grateful. It's like, if you're going to get up with that attitude, you just pull the covers over your head and stay there until you can figure out how to be better for me to live with, that kind of thing. I heard one minister opened up a book and left a note to the other spouse that was a minister, I'm not talking about John and me, and said, here, read this paragraph, maybe it will make you a nicer person. So that's the thing, what are you doing? It's not important what you do. It didn't really matter whether Susie gave a $1 bill, a $20 bill, a penny, or a credit card. Those were not important. What was important was how she did it. If a child had rolled down the window from the back seat and said, here, I have a penny, I'm rich, I'm going to give that to you now, you can be rich. Because to a child, a penny is being rich. That would have been a very successful experience. So what we're doing, there is a thinking stuff, which in its original state permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. A thought in this substance creates the thing that is imaged by the thought. Man can create things in his thought. And by impressing his thought upon thinking stuff can cause the thing he thinks about to be created. That's what we're doing. So what you want to do is you want to start paying attention to what you're impressing upon thinking substance, and then you move on. In order to do this, you must move from the competitive plane to the creative plane. You must immediately go into, there's more than enough for everybody. I cannot outgive the universe. I have created this for a reason, for me to be clear inside of myself that I always have more than enough, that I overfill my place, that I set that spiritual law or thinking substance in motion, and that I am always uplifted and I am perfectly happy simply by the feeling that I have now. Except feelings and thoughts tend to produce form. So what Susie got was a $200 check. But even if she hadn't gotten the $200 check, she would have had that experience way cheaper than a therapy session or a workshop or something like that. She would have had that experience of saying, I am clear and stable and solid and I have more than enough, so I'm going to demonstrate that by giving it away. Does that make sense? Good, 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 good. Yes, Betty.
I have a question for the end of the book. Wattles gets into great detail about the importance of, working hard and finding what it is you love, and that, if you continue to work at it, you will become rich. And the part that it was difficult for me to understand is if you're doing a job that doesn't necessarily pay real well, even though you love doing it and it fills your heart with joy, you're not going to make money at it.
Do you think you get your money from your job?
No, I meant as far as getting rich in the
Do
sense
you
of
think that
monetary.
riches come from a job?
I'm not sure I'm following.
Just because a job doesn't pay well has nothing to do with whether or not you are rich. And I mean in actual dollars. Someone left the Science of Mind Foundation 2 years ago, $500,000. They were a school teacher in California. They simply did what they loved, and they had extra money, and they read the magazine. They didn't have a center. They read the magazine regularly and practiced what it said. And they were rich. They had so much that at the end of all of the disbursements of their estate, there was $500,000 to give to Science of Mind. Don't equate how the universe supports you with a paycheck from a job. Do what you do. Overfill your place, no matter what it is that you're doing. Stay clear about what you're impressing upon thinking substance, and the universe will show up in ways that support you and allow you to experience greatness and riches. I absolutely believe that. If you think that your income is limited to your paycheck, then you're limiting your paycheck. And that's in the competitive plane, which says, all I've got is what comes in my paycheck. How many people have ever gotten money outside of their paycheck? Yeah. Yeah, and the amount of that money is simply limited by our thoughts. Jane?
What does that do to spontaneity if you're always thinking through doing something before you do it?
I didn't say think through it before you do it. I said do it in a successful way. Susie took all of 2 seconds to put the 1 back and to pull out the 20. I'm all about being spontaneous, but be spontaneous from a sense that you always have enough, that you can afford to give out into the world, that you give more than you get, you always give more than you get, and that you are lifting other people up with you, and that you're doing that which brings you joy. I mean, I've known people that made lots of money and hated what they did. Better to be someone who's doing something else, and by outward appearance not making a lot of money, but they are filled with joy. Yeah, great, great, great. Troy.
I think of maybe chapter 9, something like that. Wattles says, you can think about it, you can imagine it to its most detail. You visualize it and you can believe it exists in the present. But then he goes a step further and he says, but if you do not put yourself in the right position to get to get the item, it's gonna pass you by.
No, he doesn't say that. He says that where you are has nothing to do with your getting rich. And then he says it's better if you're gonna be a salmon farmer to go to the Northwest than in Florida where there's no salmon. But location, opportunity, education, all of that has nothing to do with your success. Thought does. If you are aligning yourself with your success, then wherever you need to be, you're gonna be. You know, how many people have been picked up and dropped in Asheville? Yeah, picked up and dropped where you're supposed to be. So wherever it is you need to be in vibrational alignment to attract that, to impress upon thinking substance and have it manifest in form, that will show up. Or you may say, boy, I always thought I wanted to be a salmon fisherman, but Florida's great, maybe I'll be a lobster fisherman. This is wonderful. I don't know. But you'll be in alignment with that and you will be supported by life. And he does talk in the 1800 dialect. So, I mean, he talks about the shape of your skull as if it means anything about anything. There was a whole science about cranial size and shape equating to brain cells under the misassumption that the brain and mind are the same thing. The brain and mind are not the same thing. The brain is the organ of mind. There is a thinker behind the thought, otherwise you could cut a brain out, stick it in a jar with electrodes and it would think. It doesn't. It's just an organ. And then more recently, in the last few decades, they thought if you had a stroke and you lost the use of your right brain, that you would have the left side of your body wouldn't be able to be moved, or the left side of your brain, you would lose speech function and your right arm and stuff like that. And then they found out it just grew back. It just actually, the other side of your brain just started taking over control of those things. And once people started to have that happen, it started happening more and more and more and more. Once we broke through that paradigm and realized that the brain is just an organ and an instrument, it's like a muscle that we can use for different things. So there are things in the book that don't make sense, granted. How big your head is does not mean how much brains you have. And even he was saying, but you could have little cells and they could be working really good, you know? He was trying to make sense of it all back then. So what he's saying is don't be stupid. You know, don't move to Alaska to sell snow cones. That's probably not a good idea. But I would say if you were clear enough in Alaska selling snow cones, you could still get rich selling snow cones. He's saying, think about what you want to do and then do something on your own behalf. Does that make sense? Thanks. Who had their hand up over here? Karen, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
I just wanted to go back for a second because we're in a good space and we're able to be really focused and clear and things are going well. But then going back to, you have a hiccup and you kind of have just one of those days and experiences where you're just stuck in the muck of negativity and all around you, or get caught up in others. How do you clean that up? What do you do to clean it up?
Just go to bed. Stop. Stop hurting yourself.
Okay.
If you can't pull yourself out, just stop. Leave work. If you're screwing your job up, leave it. Don't call that customer to try to make amends for how you just chewed them out. Leave it. He says, don't do something that you're going to do badly. It's better that you don't do anything. So really, I would say just stop. Go to the movies, go eat, go take a walk, stop.
Okay, just shift.
Just shift and then wait until you really are ready to pick it up. The native peoples have wonderful concepts about this. If you ask a native person a question, don't expect an answer for 4 days. 4 days, so they don't do things in a hurry. Wallace says you are not allowed to be in a hurry. There's a right timing for things, and you're supposed to know where you are in relationship to that. So let's say you're in sales. There's so many stories in that Mae McCarthy book, The Path to Wealth, that we used this summer. She would wait until she had clear guidance to call someone. and then she would call that person, and it would be this wonderful giant sale. Now, if she didn't wait, if she just got worried and said, I gotta do it, I gotta do it, I gotta drum up business, and you know, I gotta call 99 people before that one person says yes, because that's the law of averages, and I'm in the competitive realm, and I'm feeling pressured, and there's not enough. If she had done that, she would not have been nearly as rich as she is. But she would wait. And if she wasn't sure, she would ask for guidance. She would say, I want a clearer sign because I think this is what I'm supposed to do. Sounds ridiculous to me, but I think this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm not sure. I'm going to wait for a clearer sign. You know, I can really see a Native person doing that. I'm going to wait. Oh, I have a message to you from Great Spirit. No, 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 I'll wait. I'll wait and hear it myself. That kind of thing. So you're not allowed to be in a hurry. Certainly don't keep hurting yourself. If you know you're out of control and you're not coming back, just leave. Just put a closed sign on the door and go away. Go to the beach. Pull yourself together. You will do less damage that way than you will by trying to fix it in a frantic, competitive way. Haven't you ever done that in a conversation with someone? You knew if you kept talking, things were just going to go south quickly. Yeah. And the next thing you know, you're in this big knockdown, drag-out fight, and if you had just said, and left, you would have been better off than if you had stayed there trying to get it to go where you wanted it to go, but you weren't in alignment because your head wasn't screwed on straight, and you were being very reactive instead of creative, and you were upset. Just stop. Well, I'm not allowed to stop. And that's why people screw their lives up so much, because they keep beating on the thing that it's not helping to beat on it. Better that you stop beating on it and do anything else. Whatever you do, do it in a successful way. So what can I do successfully right now? I can go to bed. What can I do successfully right now? I can leave town. What can I do successfully right now? I can, and then you fill in the blank, and then do that. He says it doesn't matter what you do. It matters whether you do it successfully or not successfully. Because if you only do one thing every day and you do it successfully, you will have a successful life. But if you do 100 things and 99 of them are failures and only one is successful, you will not have a successful life. So you're the one who has to know when to put on the brakes and when to step on the gas. Am I ready to do this? Is it really, am I really in alignment with it? Abraham would say, are you vibrating at the frequency of the end result of that? Really, have you worked on your head enough to lift yourself up, to be in that space where you can have that? Have I overfilled my space? Have I moved into the creative realm? Have I lifted everybody up around me? Am I moving forward in that sense of success? Then go for it. Go for it and complete it in a successful fashion. And then you have a successful life. And it goes so against what we've been taught. We've been taught to get up and hit the ground running and try to do as many things as possible in the shortest amount of time that we have and hope that something works out instead of picking one thing and doing it well. You remember the book Siddhartha? Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And when he wanted to be a merchant with that store owner, the guy said no, and he sat down. And the store owner said, well, what can you do? He said, I can sit and I can wait. And he did for like 4 days until the guy hired him. When my son was in high school, he was working at Sears. And he was raised in this for all of his kicking and screaming. He was raised in this. And he would lounge around and chat and not work and not work and not work. And then he would go up to one customer and sell them a table saw. And the other salespeople would get really mad at him because they were working, and nobody bought from them. But when Matthew would connect with someone and felt good about giving them his precious time, then they would buy a big ticket item. So isn't it better to only talk to the people who are going to buy instead of chasing after the people who aren't, and think about that with the relationships you've had in your life. Imagine if you could really get clear about who was going to be a successful relationship instead of, oh, I'm so in love. You know, that's the sadist and the masochist hooking up. If you could be really clear about who you could have a successful relationship with and only be involved in those kinds of a relationship, you would have a whole different life than chasing after people that don't want you anyway. If someone doesn't want you, please don't want them. It's neurotic. So these ideas, they're just counterintuitive to society, but for inside of me, it makes perfect sense. It's like when I used to garden, and I gardened in a big way. The last garden I had was an acre. When I used to garden and the seed catalogs would come out about now. And they had such pretty pictures, you know. It was so cold. And then I would order my seeds, and I really wanted to plant them. I wanted to plant my seeds. I had had tomatoes growing in the snow before. And I'd put little walls of water and milk jugs and things like that and try to keep them warm and get them to sprout and get them to grow and transplant them. And then the sun would come out, spring would hit, the days were long enough, and everyone said, okay, now you can plant your tomatoes, which was like 2 or 3 months after I started my seeds. Those tomatoes grew every bit as fast as the ones that I had planted and struggled with. They grow the exact same speed to fruition in terms of they all had tomatoes at the same time. The ones that I waited until the ground was ready and the daylight hours were right and it was the right temperature grew so fast because everything was right. And the other ones that I had little seedlings under fluorescent lights in the basement and all that crazy stuff, I put so much effort into them and didn't get a single tomato faster than if I had just waited until the timing was right. And I would have saved myself lots of hours of effort in the process. So if we could live our life really intuitively based on what is the right thing for us to do, not what do we want, not what am I reacting to, not, oh, if I don't get it, somebody else is going to get it and then I won't have it. That's all the competitive plane. If we could live our lives based on this intuitive knowingness that this is the right thing to do, this is what I want to do, I'm really getting that this is good. People say, you're what? You're going to quit your job and go work over here because it brings you joy? What are you, nuts? No, I'm really feeling like this is the right thing for me to do, and I'm going to do it. You're going to end up with tomatoes at the same moment, except one way you're going to be happy, and one way you're going to struggle. So he says, don't struggle. Don't struggle in life. Don't do it. If there is one thing that you feel like you have to do, and you have to do it poorly, you're better off not doing it. Drew.
I was taught that if you do something that you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Mm-hmm. And you'll always have more than enough money because money follows love. Right? People want to be happy. So people want a certain amount of money so they can buy something that they think is going to make them happy. If you just go ahead and are happy, then whatever you have is a perk. It's an addition, it's gravy. If you're already happy, and once you're already happy, the happiness and joy of molecules coming into form will seek you out. And so you will have, easily you will have things show up. I have a sister who had a fish fall from the sky into her lap. I have a sister that had a Tupperware container of marinated, ice-cold, skewered shrimp fly off a car's roof into her yard. And we waited for someone to come back. They never came back, so we cooked them and ate them. I have a sister that found a 5-diamond ring 3 years after she moved into her house in the trap in the toilet. If you're happy, things will seek you out and it will find you. But if you're struggling and if you're doing things poorly day after day after day to where you think that's what life is, then you're going to push away everything that you could possibly have. So he says, think about it. If you can only do one thing, do it well. If you can't do that one thing well, stay in bed. Go to the beach. Do something else. Don't do anything important unless you can do it well. Don't talk to someone if you cannot speak in a loving, joy-filled way. Just keep your mouth shut. If you're going to complain, in particular about me, keep your mouth shut. Somebody called me up and said, oh, somebody was in the social hall complaining about you yesterday. Who cares? Who cares? That's their world. My relationship with them is wonderful. It's just wonderful. Why would I want to give my joy up? Just because somebody else has chosen to have a bad day. So if you cannot speak to those that you love in a way that really supports your love, don't say anything. Put a little, chalkboard around your neck. It says, I'm in the silence. Remember when we used to do that? See how long we could keep it on? 10 minutes. I'm in the silence. I'm so holy. So I love the plainness of his speaking. He says, you have a right to be rich. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. And for me, it's like, oh, look at what I've done. I created a center. It's 21 years. We've got 6 acres. Oh, we're so fantastic. Well, if I didn't do that in a good way, then none of this would have any value. Would have no value. So whether it's 2 people or whether it's 200,000 people, it's got to be the way I come into my world. Whether you have $1 or $1 billion, it's got to be the way that you are in the world. It's got to be. And I just love getting the permission that says, if you're going to screw it up, don't do it. Doesn't that make perfect sense? Can't you see in your past where if you had just stopped, if you just had not gone down that street, if you had not taken that path in life, if you could have just had the awareness to say, don't do that, don't go there, don't marry that person. I was doing a wedding. Honest to God, I had the groom out there. He was an old friend of mine. I said, you don't have to do this. I mean, you do not have to do this. And it was a nightmare. There was an unborn baby involved. He was doing the right thing. He was going to marry the woman, and she was crazy. And it was decades of craziness. And he had said, I should have listened to you. I really should have listened to you. So if we can look at that inside of our own self, and I know we're always in our perfect right place. Everything that we have done has brought us to this moment in time. Yay. But we could have done it a little differently and still gotten here a little easier. Think about it. If you're going to screw it up, don't do it. If you're going to make something, if you're going to cook something, and you don't have all the ingredients, and you know that you're missing some really key ingredients, like you're going to make bread, but you don't have any yeast, don't do it. Wait until you're clear. Wait until you are aware of the true realities of life, that you live in a creative universe, that we are all in this together and we're all going to be lifted up together. You never win by pushing other people down. You never win by hurting anybody. You never win by taking anything or stealing anything. You will never win that way. And if you think you need to do that, walk away. He says if you work in a business that profits by hurting other people, quit. Just walk out the door, because you're doing more damage to yourself than you ever would be simply by being jobless. Think about what you're doing. Think about how you're doing it. And if you can do something with love and joy and it's not quite what you thought, well, I thought I was going to clean the house, but if I clean the house, I'm just going to be an awful person, so I'm not going to do that. Rather than do that, I'm going to have a wonderful day by going for a walk. You and the world are better off with you walking. You and the world are better off by you doing that, and honest to God, you will have more money by going out for a walk and feeling good than you ever would by quote-unquote doing your chores and feeling bad. Let's take a break. You're doing the reading and you're acting on it and you're thinking about it, which really is the point of a class. You gonna turn that on for me? There's the big red button. There's the big red record button. There's the big red record button. There.
The other big red record button.
You're so smart. So I love that you're taking action and having results and having insights from this material. One of the things that he talks about is thinking in the certain way. Thinking in the certain way is to make an image in your mind of that which you want to experience and act as if it is already so. So you don't say, boy, I want to get rich. Well, do you want to do this? No, I don't. I can't. I may have to say this because it may rain. And you know, sooner or later it's going to rain, especially if you keep focusing on rain. So if you go, I really want to be fulfilled and joy-filled in my life, and I'm going to create that as an image, or I want to teach. I've devoted myself to the career that my parents told me I should have. I've always loved teaching. I want to be a teacher. People really do have these feelings. And I'm going to create it in my life that I've got an image of myself. I'm awakening and I'm teaching and I'm touching the hearts and lives, and I want to teach children. So I'm in a position of teaching children, and then you create it, you think about it, you make it up. Remember last week we talked about the piano and sitting at the piano, and yes, you're sitting on the floor and you've got a candle in front of you, but no, it's a piano. So you're creating it in your mind, and then you're acting as if it is so. Because when you act as if it is so, you are bringing forth that energy of creation. You're impressing a thought upon formless substance in such a way that you move from the creative to from the competitive to the creative realm and lift everyone else up with you, but you are doing it in faith. And you're doing it in trust, and you're doing it in knowing that that is so. And when we do spiritual mind treatments, the whole point is to get to a state of knowing. Because when you know that it is so right now, not it's going to happen maybe someday, but when you know that it is right here and right now, what happens? It manifests.
Yeah.
It manifests. So when he talks about doing things in the certain way, or thinking in the certain way, he doesn't want you to wish or hope or have a passing thought about it. He wants you to think about what you want and then create it. And he talks about creating it in minute detail. He talks about the guy that had the rental house. And he walked around, and the only thing he really could believe was the stove and the rug. So he demonstrated the stove and the rug. Then he walked around again, and he started putting windows and a bay window and a wall here and a excuse me, an addition there, and oh, by the way, that he owned it. And he created that, but he created it in his mind first, because that's where creation starts. And then he brought it forth into his life by acting as if it were already so. So when you're going to act as if it is already so, what kinds of things do you say?
I'm so happy and grateful now that.
I have it. What'd you say, Mandy?
I'm so happy and grateful now that.
I'm so happy and grateful now that. Do you say, oh, I hope I'm going to win the lottery so I can have that? Because the only way that the universe could manifest this for me is if I won the lottery. I mean, that is such a limited concept. What kinds of things would you not say about that? When this happens. What?
I'm going to.
I'm going to.
If
is such a big saboteur. If and faith have nothing to do with each other. And he's, I mean, really. He's saying that you have to make only positive impressions in life. He says that you do this with faith and purpose, doing all that can be done each day, doing each separate thing in an efficient manner. Just do what you can do that day. Create an image of it. Stand in your faith. Affirm it. Speak positive statements over it. And watch how that comes into form. He says anybody can be rich. Anybody can be great if you follow these certain steps. And a lot of it is just not screwing it up. It was like the entire universe is trying to support you. You are an amazing being of light and love, powerful beyond your wildest dreams. And the first thing to do is to realize that, yes, you really can have a good life. That you can have this, that it's possible, that you have a right to be rich, that there's greatness, what's it called? The power of, I want to say the points of power. No, those are on 5 things. There's a power of, what's the phrase he uses? Yeah. No, the power of, there's a power of greatness inside of everybody. I forget what the phrase is he has. But you have a right to be rich. You can be rich. And if you just do these things, the first thing is to think about what you want, to stop hurting other people, to stop living in a universe that says there's not enough for everybody, and move into the universe that says there's more than enough for everybody. And then to stop screwing it up. If you're having a bad day, close your mouth and go to bed. Just don't do any more damage, because tomorrow's a new day. And you can work on yourself and you can pick it up all over again. Again, the relationship issues, I would have saved myself by just stopping the argument before it really got a hold. But I was a warrior. I was a warrior. Somebody wanted to argue with me, watch me take you down. And what happened was I was young and inexperienced, and I was the one who got taken down. So if I had just been quiet, gone and watched TV, anything to stop hurting myself by trying to hurt someone or something else, then my life would have been infinitely easier. So he wants you to move into gratitude so that the positive impresses you are giving out into formless stuff are those of gratitude. They carry with it great emotional weight when you move into gratitude. And I love the gratitude stones. Dozens of times I put my hand in my pocket and I would feel this and go, all right. And some of you were with me and I would go, I'm so grateful for you. And I would put it back in my pocket and move on. But I trained my thought process to open up to appreciating what I have, which only brings me more, and to creating that which I choose to have, which I would do more thoughtfully with my gratitude list in the morning. Some of the things I write down are just things that I'm grateful for. Grateful for John, grateful for my beautiful home. I'm grateful that Bliss is no longer a puppy. And I would be grateful that the creek bank is repaired and that all of our people on the property are safe as they park their cars here. I'm grateful for Wednesday Night Transformation and Rob Morgan and how he showed up in our lives. I'm grateful for all the people that call the Center for Spiritual Living home. I'm grateful for my wonderful relationship with my son. I just go on and on and on as I'm manifesting those things into form and mixing it all in, appreciating what I have, because it's all the same thing. We get to choose what's in our world with what's in our thoughts. So we learn. He says anybody can be rich. Get that you can be rich. It's the first big breakthrough. Get that you can have a great life. You are not put here by an anthropomorphic deity to suffer. You are not being punished. You are not being tested. There is no outside power. There is a huge inner power. You are commanding the power of creation of the entire universe. You are in every thought, in every feeling, in every choice. So wake up and pay attention. First of all, check out what kind of a universe you live in. Do you live in a universe of lack or do you live in a universe of abundance? Always go to the abundance. And the abundance is where we all rise up together. Because if we're not rising up together, you're trying to take something from someone else, or someone else is trying to take something from you. And that's a very difficult world to live in. It's not a world where you get to be rich. It's a world where you get to struggle. So we want to pay attention to where we are. We want to pay attention to what's going on around us. We want to pay attention to every moment of how we can give out more, set the universe in motion, make the universe work for us. It's like if you found a slot machine that you could put a dime in and get out $1, or even if you could put a dime in and get out 11 cents, it would serve you to put as many dimes in there as possible to get it back. And here you have this giant, forgive me, universal slot machine that whatever you put out, you always get back more. Whether it's tenfold, whether it's 1,000,000-fold, whether it's 1% more, it doesn't matter. It's always growing, always expanding. So you want to give out to it. You want to give out smiles. You want to give out love. You want to give out opportunity. You want to be generous. If you have an opportunity to be generous, take it. Somebody wants that parking space, let them have it. You get more out of giving them that parking space than you ever would by what you get out of a parking space. You may park next to your true love. You may park next to your new business partner. You may park next to your new best friend. Or you may park next to a stranger, but you didn't screw it up by going, there's only one parking place in the entire universe, they're trying to get it, you just draw a line in the sand, I'll take you on, I'll put you down. No, you don't want to live in that kind of a universe. You want to live in the universe that says there are infinite parking spaces for you. For you, just you. Everybody else has infinite parking spaces, but for you, there are infinite parking spaces. And this one isn't it. Come look over here. Here. This one's in the sun. This one's closer. Or this one's farther away because you need to walk. Who knows what it is? So then he says that you create things in your mind. You think them through. You lay in bed. You visualize them. Not pining away, oh, I wish one day I might have that. No, you walk in the house. You look out the window. You count the money. You hold the lover in your arms. You drive the car. You're picked up by the chauffeur. Who knows what it is? Whatever it is, you create it in your mind, and then you bring that into form by acting as if. I told you about how I created a car when I was in these classes. I had a wonderful car for the state of consciousness that I was in, and I was ready to have a car that was better. And I would take people out of class and say, come look at my new car. And it was the same old car. And they would not be happy about it. But I didn't care because I was living in the world where I had a new car. It took me 3 months, and I didn't have any money for a car. It took me 3 months to be able to have what in my world was a really cool car, and it was very new, very close to being new, new enough for me. So how much do you want to bring it into form? That's called thinking in the certain way. You have to be certain. How's your life going? My life is going great. How's your life going? Well, you know, some days are up and some days are bad. No, your life is going great. How's your business going? It's going fantastic. It's going wonderfully. Think in the certain way and think that thought over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. The way you lift other people up around you is you see them as capable. You see them as competent. You see them as God-informed with all of the power that's manifest right here and right now. They can do anything. They can walk on water. They can part the seas. They can do anything. You see them that way because you see you that way. And if you don't see yourself that way yet, practice on other people. See them as amazing. Because it doesn't matter whether you focus on the outside and you get it on the inside, or you focus on the inside and you get it on the outside. It's all one. It's just a mirror. So then he wants you to know that the universe desires you to have everything that you want. We talked about this in the last class. What is God's will? Really, is there a guy up on a cloud that's just messing with us and doesn't want us to be happy and wants to take away whatever it is we've gotten close and then just laugh sinisterly at us? Really, is that the kind of deity you want to have? How about a deity that says, anything that you can imagine with love and desire is part of my fulfillment because we're only one. You can't want something that doesn't exist because then there's a hole in the universe. All I can do is want it with you. I desire you to have everything that you desire because it is all the same desire. What about if you woke up in the morning and said, God desires me to have a great day and everything to fall into place, and serendipity and synchronicity and everything just unfolding perfectly. That is the will of the divine for me today. Wow. It's hard to feel alone and helpless that way. He said nature is friendly to your plans. That means that the unfoldment in time and space of physical form is supporting what it is you want. It has to support what you want. Now we have quantum physics, and you have infinite possibilities and probabilities, and whatever it is you focus on and observe kind of charges it and energizes it, and then it collapses into form. That's how matter is manifest according to the most modern concepts of physics. So nature is friendly to your plans. Nature's got your back. You know, the physical molecules of your life are supporting you. If something needs to happen for that money to show up, it's going to happen. I don't know where the money came from, but you had $200 in your mailbox. My belief is that had you moved into fear and upset, you would not have had the money in your mailbox. You would have pushed it away. So nature is friendly to all of your plans. If your plans is to be poor and suffer, nature is friendly to that and will help bring that about in your world. If you decide that you're living in a universe that is supported, that you can be rich, you can be great, that all of that is helping you along the way, then nature is supportive to that. Does that make sense? I don't want to pretend here you can screw up big time and create disasters in your life. All you have to do is continue to obsess on how you've been done wrong. Maybe you have met people like that for decades they go on and on and on about how someone or something has done them wrong, and it's like the parable of the talents. Even that which you have will be taken away from you. You get nothing. You are so powerful that you can live in an infinitely abundant universe and be poor. You can live in a universe that is created out of love and be totally alone. You are so powerful. So don't do that. Don't be stupid. Focus on what you want. Create it in your head. Act as if it's so. Believe that there is something going on that is going to support you and lift you up along your way. You're not all alone here. We're all in this together. Whatever demonstration anybody has had, everybody gets a piece of it. So whatever anybody has done to lift themselves out of poverty, to succeed, to be in their joy, to heal, to be happy, you have that. So we're all moving along this path together. We're all lifting each other up together. It's easier to prosper and to be healthy and happy than it is to be poor and sick and miserable. It takes more effort to be poor, sick, and miserable. You got to really work at it. Sometimes all you have to do is kind of kick back and start to just tune into the groove of being rich and happy and healthy. And then that surge of the universe, of life, lifts you up and carries you forward. That's why people think that sometimes we're lucky, because it doesn't look like we've done much on the outside, because we're only doing one thing and doing it successfully. So he says, not only is nature friendly to your plans, but everything is naturally for you. Live in a universe that supports you. Live in a universe that lifts you, that goes out of its way to conspire for your good. Not living in a universe where you wake up and, you know, people have told me they wake up and they've got an L tattooed onto their forehead and that God is just out to get them. That's really clean languaging. So live in a universe where the entire formation of form is in alignment with your highest and greatest good, with all that you are, with the natural course that you are meant to take of living a fantastic life. And what you will find is that that is what is happening. Okay? I won't go on into traditional religion. I'm not going to do that because I'm keeping my thoughts positive on what I'm impressing with universal substance. So he wants you to focus on truth instead of fact. Does anybody know what the difference of those things are?
Causing conditions.
Facts change. When you're focusing on facts, you use words like if and when and maybe and someday. Sometimes I'm driving around the back roads and there'll be a road sign of where someone built a road and it's named someday. This is my someday. But most people's somedays never come. So when you deal at the level of facts, you deal at the level of change. You deal at the level of inconsistency, of things that are not substantial. When you deal at the level of truth, what are you dealing with?
Absolute.
Constant. Absolute. So rather than looking at how much money you've got in your bank account, how much is in there today? Check my debit card. What have I got left in there? Instead of looking at that, what would you want to focus on? I always have more than enough. So, more than enough. Instead of how much today. If you're going to focus on peace, what might you be focusing on, Susan, that is not peaceful?
Change.
Change?
War.
Pardon me?
War.
What?
War.
War. War. Change. I'll put down war because a lot of us go to war with people.
Also, the change is unknown.
Right. Change is unknown. So if we're worrying about, oh my God, what's going to happen, he says, don't put that out there. Don't impress that. If we are worrying about anything, do whatever you can to change your focus. He says, stop it. That is not doing something in a successful way. To worry about it, all you're doing is making what you don't want to have happen, happen. So stop it. Do whatever you can to stop it. If you're worrying about something, if you're freaking out about something, you're just making it worse. Really, it's better that you do nothing about it than make it worse. So if you can focus on peace, that's wonderful. And then you put peace out there. My life is unfolding exactly the way that it should. I am taking another step towards my experience of a fantastic life right here and right now, and I take that step knowing that I'm loved and supported by all of the universe. That's great. If you can't go there, if you're just, oh my God, I don't know what to call it, it's terrible. Stop it. Stop it in any way that you can. Go to a movie that will distract you. Go for a walk. Go plunge in an icy lake. I don't care what it takes to stop it. Sometimes I wish we could just freeze ourselves until we get better. You know? Just freeze ourselves for a couple of days until things work out or until we have a better attitude about it.
I think they call that chill out.
Chill out, really? Really? Oh no, we're still, bouncing off that puritanical mindset of our parents that you've got to do, and we live in a do-do world. Or our children of alcoholics all feeling like we've got to do twice as much to feel half as good as anybody else. It's crazy. He's saying stop. If you are living in this and focusing on the changing, the fact, the outer circumstances, shift to the truth. We're spiritual beings living in a spiritual universe. All of nature is for me. The universe is for me. I'm living in a creative world where I am lifted up with everybody else and there's more than enough for all. If you can do that, great. And if you can't, stop. Certainly don't make any decisions while you're feeling that way. Certainly don't marry someone, go into business with someone, give someone all of your money. Don't do that. Stop until you can do it better. And the universe will be okay. You will not die. The world will not fall apart if you stop and wait until you get a better attitude about it. Do a native thing. I'm going to take 4 days. I love the native peoples. Rocking Bear told us right away, if you ask me before 4 days, the answer is automatically no. Because you couldn't wait 4 days. Meaning, don't push me. Okay.
Is that gentleman still around?
No, Rocking Bear passed. Yeah. He says, be impeccable. Be in alignment. Be clear. Chuck was telling me a story about clarity years ago. If you can allow yourself to be clear, then you're like the laser beam bringing forth into form. Things happen. It's our lack of clarity, and our lack of clarity is based on the way we see the world. He says it is not your part to guide or supervise the creative process. And I know for those of us with control issues, that's hard. Because we really want to tell the universe how to do it, although mostly our ideas haven't panned out, or we wouldn't be at this level of the creative process still. It is not your part to guide or supervise the creative process. All you have to do with that is to retain your vision, stick to your purpose, and maintain your faith and gratitude. Now that's all. Retain your vision. You get to be rich. You want to have a boat. You want to travel. You want to invent things. You want to find your true love. You want to be healthy and happy. You want to run a marathon. Whatever it is, stick to your vision. Create it. Make it really clear. Live it. Know it. Stick to your purpose. And maintain your faith and gratitude. And for me, maintaining my faith is helped a lot when I am maintaining my gratitude. Because when I forget that I already am so blessed, I can begin to doubt that the universe is for me, that nature is friendly to my plans, that all of life supports me. I can forget that. And I can get triggered off into this, I gotta do it, I gotta do it, I gotta make it happen. I've got to use willpower to force it into form. No, I want to chill out. I want to be really clear, and I want to accept it. And then watch how it shows up. I want to overfill my place. I want to challenge my limiting beliefs. I want to insist that I live in an abundant universe where there's more than enough for all. More than enough love. More than enough opportunity. More than enough of everything. And if I start doing that, it's not uncommon that I will create a scenario to challenge that. And so it's up to me to say, no, I really do believe this. Thank you, but I'm going to overfill my place right now and just overfill you right out. And then we do that. And life starts to show up. And before you know it, you go, wow, I really can have a rich life. I really can be great. There's greatness in me. And oh my God, there's greatness in you and in you and in you and in you. Everybody's got greatness in them, and I'm going to see that. And then we start having a completely transformed life. And you know, it doesn't matter how much money you have to be rich. It doesn't matter. And I'm not saying that this is some kind of a con where we're going to pretend like we're rich and you're not going to have any money. No. But it doesn't matter how much money you have to be rich. You can be rich right at this second. And the richer you are at this second, the more money will track you down. It will seek you out, and it will find you, because you are vibrating at that place. You are impressing those thoughts upon formless stuff. Formless substance is infinite. It's infinite. There's no limit to us. And all the form already on the planet is huge. Huge. We live in the wealthiest country on an amazingly wealthy planet. We're not on Mars where there's no water and just rocks. Look around. My God, we live in a rainforest here. It's beautiful. We've got bears and foxes and deer and coyotes, and they just walk right through our parking lot. If you look out the window, there'll be a little herd of deer out there, and Bliss will be afraid. I've never had such a scared cat dog.
Afraid of deer, huh?
She's afraid of the baby deer, yeah. So we live in an abundant universe. Of course there's more than enough. My God, we're talking about trillions of dollars. I don't know how much that is. Did you see the pictures, though, when the lottery was being one of what $1 billion looks like? It was beautiful. It was all $100 bills. It was all shrink wrapped. It was all on pallets. And they were walking around, probably the size of this room, just walking around and going, that's $1 billion. That's $1 billion. And then you take the billion, and is it 1,000 billion makes a trillion? I think it's 1,000 million makes a billion, and 1,000 billion makes a trillion. We're talking just in random conversations like the debates. We're throwing around words like trillion dollars. There is so much money, so much money. So when you just start to open up to that, and you start to get that, and you start living in that world, money seeks you out and finds you. So many times we're going, I'm abundant and prosperous, and all that I want I have now, and it's coming, and we go, get away, somebody took my parking space. I'm just gonna get into that, I have a right to my feelings. And you do have a right to your feelings, but there's also a cost to your feelings, or a payoff to your feelings. And when you descend down to someone took something from me, and there's all of your good, and it just goes right over here to somebody else because you shoot it away by being upset, by having a right to your feelings. You have a right to your poverty. You have a right to your smallness. You have a right to a lousy life, but don't do that. That's stupid. You're too far for that now. You know too much. If you sabotage this, it's all on you. It's not that you've never heard this before, and it is every second of every day. You get to be in gratitude, you get to be in love, you get to live in the world that you want to live in, whether it has manifest in form or not. You get to give out more than you give, over and over and over and over again. You're putting money in that slot machine, and more is coming out than you ever put in. It's a wonderful visual. You give somebody 20 bucks, oh my God, that only left me $1. Here's 200. That is the way life works. If you decide to be rich, and if you decide to be great, principle of power, there's a principle of power within you. It's already there. All you're doing is letting it out. And you do everything in a successful way, because your choice is to succeed or to fail at it. So if you're going to fail at it, could you imagine getting up in the morning and going, I am going to totally fail today. Let's get dressed, and I'm just going to go, I'm going to get fired, I'm going to wreck my relationship, I'm going to get in an accident, I'm going to totally fail today.
And let's see how successful you are at it.
Wouldn't you be better off staying in bed? Yeah. You would be better off staying in bed. So if you're going to do something, do it well. And if you can't do it well, don't worry. You live in an infinite universe. There's always more than enough time. If you're thinking there's not enough time, you've already moved into the competitive realm where there's lack and limitation. No, there's always more than enough time. If I was supposed to do it today, I would be able to do it well. Since I can't do it well today, I'm not supposed to do it. So I'm going to just move with that natural order of things. It's like thinking that you've ever done anything wrong. If you were supposed to do it differently, you would have. And since you didn't, you could not. So let yourself off the hook. Everything that you did was fine. And if you are supposed to do something successfully, you will have everything that you need to do it. And that may be intuitive guidance that you now know how to convert US to metric or whatever, that this thing has been shipped and it just shows up on your doorstep, or someone stops by to bring that missing piece. It might be like that, or it might be that your schedule opens up so you've got enough time to do this, or it might be that your heart opens up so that you can do it in a loving and generous way, or that money shows up so that you've got enough money to do it. Who knows how it's going to happen? But if it's not going to happen that way, don't do it. Susan.
So I'm still on the vision of the pallets of
Money, wasn't that great?
and I'm envisioning that, and a whole life just went on in my head that, well, if I had that much, it would feel unlimited, and I can just be without the thought of running out or limit, the word limit. There would be no limit to how and what I could spend, which had me realize that I do live with the thoughts of limitation.
Right? You are unlimited.
As free as I am and as grateful as I feel for what I have, and I don't really live in the fear of, there still is a finite, I can put limits on it. So that is a great vision, and I heard it and I saw it very clearly. If I had that much, I would truly spend it in an unlimited way, which you see that I don't.
And what are you spending it on? Are you spending it on a way to get a feeling that you already have? Like a feeling of happiness, a feeling of freedom, a feeling of joy.
Probably. I need that, or I want that because.
So this is the work, that you live in a universe where you have unlimited support, and that you already have the freedom, the love, the joy. And if you hold that vibration, the two of them come together, and it may look like on the outside that either some large sum of money came in, or someone came into your life and said, I want to do this with you. I want to go into this venture. I want to travel with you. I want to have this experience with you. However it shows up, it doesn't really matter. It shows up when you can hold your thoughts steady to the idea that I have unlimited support and I already am living this life, whatever that is.
In the words, it would never run out, but I know the universe is a universe that my desires and my wants and my needs and whatever I want will never run out.
They'll never run out.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very clear. Thank you for
Good.
that.
Stay in that place and watch how form shows up in your life, because I believe that we are all standing in this unlimited barrage of good. And we're spend most of our life going, no, I don't deserve it, I shouldn't have it, there's not enough, or it's not real. And we spend our lives pushing back the flow of good. And if we can just stay there and go, I have unlimited, I have so much, I am so blessed, I am a part of all there is, and I live in an abundant universe. If we can just catch a glimpse of that, it'll knock us over with so much good.
And it will never run out.
And it will never run out. We think, because we're in that, got to do it, that we've got to go chase it down, lasso it, tie it up, bring it back, put it in our bank account, all of that. We just have to stop fighting it. And that takes extreme discipline to be able to stay in that energy, that we are so loved, that everything is so well, that not only for us but for everyone, that this is the way life truly is. You know, if you're going to fight for something, fight for that. Fight against the ideas that say you don't deserve it, you shouldn't do it, you're not good enough, only other people get that. And say, no, I am a part of all that is. Wow. And just let that in and watch how it shows up. It shows up in physical healings. It shows up in financial healings. It shows up in relationship healings. It shows up in demonstrations. It shows up in the good that was going to go down the street to somebody else, making a U-turn and coming to your house. It shows up like that. Because they were over there going, oh no, somebody took my parking place, and I went right to my feelings. So it just left and went to you. Because you were all... And there's plenty for them once they stop pushing it away. Does that make sense? Good. Any other questions? Good insight. Yeah. Great. Take out what you're going to give. While you're doing that, I just want to read this last, he keeps expanding on his, I call it a treatise. There is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. Man can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon formless substance, can cause the thing he thinks about to be created. In order to do this, man must pass from the competitive to the creative mind. He must form a clear mental picture of the things he wants and hold this picture in his thoughts with fixed purpose to get what he wants and the unwavering faith that he does get what he wants, closing his mind to all that may tend to shake his purpose, dim his vision, or quench his faith. That he may receive what he wants when it comes, man must act now upon the people and things in his present environment. In order to do this, man must pass from the competitive to the creative mind. He must form a clear mental picture of the things he wants and do with faith and purpose all that can be done each day, doing each separate thing in an efficient manner. That's all you got to do. Piece of cake. So what I know is that each one of us is blessed, that we are already rich, we are already great. I know that our lives are filled with the abundance and the prosperity of life on planet Earth, that we impress upon unformed substance the idea that we already are rich, we already are great, and that the universe manifests that in our lives right here and right now. I know that we are generous, that we overfill our space, and the universe is always giving back to us abundantly. So I know that each one of us comes together this night to make this Center for Spiritual Living Asheville all that it was ever meant to be. It is a place of peace, a beacon of light, a tower of strength, and a fountain of wisdom that touches the lives of all who call it home. And so it is. Breathe it in. Breathe it in. We are so loved. We are so connected. We are so blessed. We are so rich. And we are so great. It came in us, as us is us. We can't get away from it. We may slow it down, but that's all that's going to happen. We are spirit in form as us. Beings of light and beings of love. And all is well. So I know that everything in these baskets is blessed. That as we give into the world, that which we are goes with our gift. For me, it's golden light pouring from each one of us, filling up this room from the floor to the ceiling and all between the walls. It is the movement of spirit in our lives, touching, blessing, and healing each one of us. It goes out to travel this world, to touch and bless and heal every being on this planet, reminding us of who we have come here to be and supporting us in that being. I know that we are blessed right here and right now. And since we lift everyone else up, it's not only us here tonight, but everyone who's ever been here and everyone yet to come. And so it is.
So it is.
I love you guys. Have a wonderful week.